The thread is cut, the metal binds, the overreaching mind is blind. To turn the wrench past what is meant is how the strongest steel is spent. Alchemists warned against the danger of the perpetual fire. They knew that once the transmutation was successful and the stone was formed, it had to be removed from the heat. The novice, addicted to the process of purification, puts the perfect stone back into the furnace to make it even more perfect. By trying to improve what is already finished, the novice burns away its spirit and reduces the stone to dead glass. If you do not know when to stop fixing it, you will be the one who eventually and inevitably breaks it. Welcome back to the Simple Tapes. This is your friend Vinny. Autumn is here and it's in full swing in the Rust Belt. Winter is on the horizon as the air here near the garage has that sharp, dry bite to it. I'm standing at the workbench, rolling a steel bolt between my fingers, taking a little break for the day. The threads on the bottom half of the bolt are completely flattened out and sheared off. The bolt looks like it was chewed up by a machine, but it wasn't. I actually destroyed this bolt myself with a hand wrench simply because I didn't know when to stop pulling. Today, we are going to discuss the yield point. We are talking about the lethal danger of endless self-improvement and why the constant desire to optimize your life will eventually ruin your foundation. Whenever you tighten a bolt into a piece of metal, you are relying on friction. As you turn the wrench, the threads interlock and the bolt actually acts like a stiff spring, stretching just a fraction of a millimeter to pull the two pieces of metal tightly together. But there is a strict law of physics involved. Every metal has what is called a yield point. It is the exact moment where the metal reaches its maximum capacity to stretch. If the joint is secure, but you give the wrench one more quarter turn just to make it perfectly tight, you cross that yield point. The metal doesn't hold, and the threads will violently shear off inside the hole. In a fraction of a second, the bolt goes from perfectly secure to completely useless. It just spins freely. For the recovering burnout, this is the final trap. You survive the teardown. You rebuilt your engine. You establish your routines. But because you are addicted to the process of self-improvement, you can't leave the machine alone. You are constantly micro-adjusting your habits, over-analyzing your boundaries, and endlessly tweaking your psychology to find that extra 1% of optimization. You think you are securing the system, but you are just pushing your own mind past its yield point. You are stripping your own threads. Almost every young mechanic makes this mistake the first time they change the oil on the car. They drain the old oil and they thread the steel drain plug back into the aluminum oil pan. They tighten it down. It is snug. It is perfectly sealed. It is not going to leak. But the newcomer, they have that anxiety. They want to do the perfect job, which I can understand. They want to make sure it's perfectly sealed. So they put a long wrench on the plug, brace themselves against the floor, and pull hard. They feel a sudden, sickening pop in their hands. The wrench suddenly gets very easy to turn. They didn't make the plug tighter. They sheared the threads right out of the aluminum oil pan. Because they couldn't accept secure enough, they now have a massive catastrophic oil leak and they have to spend $500 replacing the entire pan. $500 right out of their first paycheck. They didn't ruin the engine because they lacked skill. They ruined it because they lacked the discipline to take their hands off the wrench. I spent years trapped in that cult of betterment, perpetual betterment. When I started teaching, I would write a syllabus that worked perfectly. It delivered the curriculum, the student learning objectives, etc., etc. The students learned, and the machine ran clean during the semester. But since I taught class for both the regular semester and the summer/winter intersession semesters, I couldn't just let the same syllabus run. There would be some variations. But I took it way extreme. I would tear it apart, rearrange the lectures, tweak the grading rubrics, and obsess over finding a slightly more optimized flow. I pushed the material past its yield point until the class structure was confusing and overcomplicated for both the student and for me. I did the same exact thing to my personal life. If a morning routine worked, I'd read another book to try to squeeze 10 more minutes of productivity out of it. I was stacking task upon task and multitasking. I thought I was moving toward a state of perfection. I was becoming a well-oiled machine. But really, I was just terrified of the quiet. I was terrified of having faith in what I currently had. I felt if I stopped improving myself, I would actually have to sit in the silence and live the ordinary life and the foundation I had already built. Eventually, my routines became so rigid and over-torqued that the slightest disruption would strip the threads and shatter my entire week. A man who cannot stop turning the wrench will eventually strip the threads on a perfectly good engine. So here's my challenge to you this week. Drop the wrench. Identify one area of your life where the machine is already running. A project, a relationship, a daily routine, or a boundary that you have been obsessively picking at, trying to make it perfect. This week, you are not allowed to improve it. Keep it where you have it kept currently right now. You are not allowed to optimize it. You are not allowed to give it just one more turn. Let it be good enough. Let the metal hold. Take your hands off the wrench and just let the system run. There is plenty of time to make adjustments as necessary, but stick with what you already have running. Have faith in it. Perfection is a sheared thread. Trust the tension. And hey, one small thing before you go. I set this stripped bolt back down on the workbench. The threads are completely smoothed over. It is essentially a useless metal peg now. It is a beautiful, terrible reminder. The line between absolute structural integrity and catastrophic failure is usually just a quarter turn of the wrist. Sometimes the most advanced mechanical skill you can possibly develop is knowing exactly when to step back. Wipe the grease off your hands and leave well enough alone. If you keep trying to fix something that isn't broken, it won't be long until it is. Till next week, this is your friend Vinny. Keep it ordinary, keep it simple.